No, I don't wanna play no games. No, I don't wanna hear your promises. You do you and I'll do me. That's just the way it is.
Boom.
Biddly, 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 bar. Yes, yo. The footwell criminals here. The clout chasers in. You know what time it is. Get that badger in and on and over here. We had to move back to get his greatness in. Nobody do it how he does it. If you don't know by now, you never knew. Cannot wait for the international break. It feels like it's over now. I know there's obviously some games tonight and stuff. And I don't know when they stop, to be fair. But the players will be now beginning to envisage and look at the Premier League games, which is all I care about. Quick ship vid. We're going to discuss a little bit of a few potential bananas skins we've got going on, floating around throughout the squad. Goodmanson has been getting battered by the Swedish media. He's been getting rated 1 out of 5 and all this stuff by the Swedish media because he apparently had an absolute stink. And I've not watched the game, and because I couldn't care less. He's been decent for us, hasn't he? One thing I will say about Goodmanson, and it's not a criticism because it thus far has been coming off. He does seem, and you need this as well, so it's a catch-22, but he seems quite brave on the ball, sometimes quite deep. Obviously, when he's at left back, he can be a little bit exposed when we are quite deep, but is it available to try and beat his right winger, beat his man, maybe not traditional right winger if they're playing 3 up top or whatever formation teams are playing, but his direct man, he does go to beat him, and he will play inside balls, play balls, 5-10 yard passes inside or into Nonto, and he'll get in, he'll strive on and try to get in behind him. Now, that will catch us out a few times, of that I've no doubt, and I think he'll get exposed a few times, but I think Bogle will. I think Rodon will have some stinkers. I think Struijk will have some stinkers. Biol, if he gets in, will have. Ampadu's going to have some bad games. My man Longstaff's never going to have a bad game, but they're all going to be capable of having a poor game out of this. So I'm not too I won't be concerned about a bad performance anyway. I mean, Sweden, I know their qualification hopes are hanging by a thread. I think they've only got 2 points or something. Not that we care about that either, but yeah, it's just interesting and also quite refreshing to think that the players get battered by everybody's media, don't they? And it's not just us all the time that just sort of like over the top with stuff. But I think Goodmanson's been a good player for us, hasn't he, thus far? I think people are comparing him, obviously rightly, to Firpo. I think Firpo is a Donny going forward. Still remains to be said whether Goodmanson's better at defending than Firpo, to be quite honest. I don't think anybody's quite put it on him yet. But having tried to cast my mind back to Firpo's antics in the Premier League, when he first got here and he was just wandering about, you'd have to suggest that Goodmanson is a probably more all-rounded left-back. I think going forward, Firpo, honestly, I don't think anybody's better than my man Firpo going forward. But Goodmanson is probably, I think he's got a bit of both, Goodmanson, and I think he's been a good acquisition thus far. We've had some stinkers, haven't we, from Europe, when we've got Christensen in and Rocker and all that stuff. So, and Christensen obviously exposed immediately, and that's when you just think, oh boy, where's my man Ayling at? So Jesse Marsch has been talking about Dan James. It's quite an interesting topic, really, because he didn't really fancy Dan James, did he? Obviously, he had him loaned out, and he's had some nice things to say about him. He says Dan James is a great guy, a great player, really committed, a team guy, very dynamic, high quality. I really like Dan as a person and as a player. One thing, just an observation I will make before I sort of slightly defend, believe it or not, for the first time ever, Jesse Marsch. But that is so Jesse Marsch, in it, that a great player, really committed, a team guy, very dynamic, high quality. It's like just fluff, isn't it? All just words, all word spew, as some people call my channel, to be fair. But it's been levelled at him that, particularly in the article, that there's been a resurgence of Dan James under Daniel Farke. And I think that is a little bit unfair on Marsch, which I never thought I'd say previously. I mean, I like Dan James, and I'm still very hopeful that he will be able to be a consistent player for us, and we're going to need him now, aren't we? Now that our lack of reinforcements out wide, particularly on the right. Well, I say particularly on the right, but we brought Okafor in, and we've obviously lost Ramazani, and Solomon's not come back. So we're kind of just treading water on both sides. But regardless of that, I don't want to go back down that line. I think it's a little bit unfair on Marsch, just on the basis that it's now up to Farke to see what he can get out of Dan James himself in the Premier League, won't it? Obviously, if heaven forbid we'd have gone down with Jesse Marsch, and heaven forbid, he'd have stayed in the Championship. It'd have been up to him to get something out of Dan James. There's no doubt Dan James is an excellent Championship player. I don't think anybody would doubt that. He's 27 now. This is possibly his last attempt in the Prem, you would imagine. He'll always be excellent. He's not a good Championship player before anybody starts leveling the fact that he's just a Championship player, because he's not. It's just the jump up. That's where the jump up actually begins, isn't it? They're excellent at Championship level. Somerville was unbelievable at Championship level. He's not a Championship level footballer. He's unbelievable at that level, but the step up is enormous to then go and try and get anywhere near them types of numbers, isn't it? So, and that's what Dan James is currently faced with. And ultimately, that's what Jesse Marsch was faced with while Dan James was at the club. So that's just my observation of it. It's now up to Farke if he has had a resurgence. I think Dan James has got plenty to offer. I just think there's going to be certain games that's going to really suit him. But he does need to step up ultimately. I think Nonto will have a decent season. I think hopefully that Okafor can find some form. We're gonna have to rely on DCL being fit. Mecha being a nightmare. Hopefully Peru can get off at bench and nick a few goals for us and stuff. We're going to have to start creating more in open play. We know that. But we have played against a decent Everton side who have proved themselves to be decent. Arsenal, obviously, you take your pumping. And then Newcastle, obviously you want to create chances, but I think we probably created the better chances out of the two teams, really. I don't think they brought much. Twitter has begun. The Lord Twitter has risen. The fallen shall rise again. Nuno Espirito Santo has been sacked in dramatic fashion from Nottingham Forest. That clown, well, I don't know whether he's a clown or not, but there's a bit of mania involved, isn't it? I firstly want to mention that they have brought Big Ange in, so they are trucked, guys. It's over. Nottingham Forest are on the decline, and we are going to be in competition with them this year for 15th. Rest assured, bookmark this. I don't think you can bookmark a YouTube video, but you take my point. People obviously going straight to Twitter and just saying, get him in. What difference does he even make at this point, though? You know, it's none of his players. Farke's currently done nothing wrong. Obviously, I don't want Farke to have gone 3 games in, having got 4 points and just got beat to Arsenal, unbeaten elsewhere. Everybody other than the top teams, and Newcastle are a top team, so that's not even true, even of the first 3 games. But he deserves 10 games, in particular with the way we're going. I appreciate, Nuno Santo's a decent manager, but really he's going to come in and what's he going to change that Farke's not going to do? He's still got the same players. It's not like he's going to bring Chris Wood over and, Chris Wood's going to continue to bang goals in. I think the goals will dry up now. I think Big Ange football gets exposed. I think it didn't work at Tottenham, and I think Nuno's a little bit more. He plays a very direct way, doesn't he? And he's a bit more. Ange's very. I think Ange's shit. I think I should just set it out. Shit is as shit does. I think I'll just set it out like that. I think he's a big donkey and big Dumbo, big Doylem. And I think it's all based on the fact that he comes out in a few interviews and people get aroused by his like, I don't take the woke shit. And I don't do that accent, but I think it's just this idea where, really, the bloke lost 22 games in one season for Tottenham Hotspur, which is, as far as I can remember back, even when Tottenham were Spursy and bad, they were never that bad. So that's one of the worst tenures I've seen at a football club, really. And yes, he won a European title, which, nobody were trying to win. But yeah, we're not bringing Nuno in. Also, Farke's got another 7 or 8 games before we sort of really know where we're at. And Nuno's probably still out of a job at that point. And I don't think he's going to walk straight back into a job. I mean, who knows? They'll probably have rid of Big Ange by Christmas, so he might be on his way back. Be interesting to see. Not that I care, but what Nuno does in general, because obviously he has had a topsy-turvy career himself, as most managers do at this level. You sort of find your own, do well. You go to a bigger club, you don't do well. It's happened with Spurs, with both of them. A few times. It's plenty of managers have gone to Spurs and not done well, so it's not really a representation of them. But Big Ange will not succeed at Nottingham Forest. Mark my words. Gruev is apparently injured. He did get to the end of the game. There's been, obviously, I did my video yesterday on Gruev, which is wild articles. I don't know what, to be honest, I don't really know what's occurring at this stage. I have a slight suspicion that the manager just absolutely detests him Because after this scandal nonsense that was floating around yesterday, which I thoroughly enjoyed reading about, because it was like, I felt like fucking Cluedo trying to work it out, or what's that gadget called? Not Inspector Morse, but I fucked my knee, by the way, boys. I played 6-a-side last night, and I've fucked my knee. I don't know what I've done, but it's bad. And I actually got sent off as well for off-the-ball activities, which is a bit embarrassing at 6-a-side. My mate texted saying, "You fancy a knockabout?" I'm like, "Yeah, will do. I'll help you out." And then I got sent off, which is never a good look, is it, for, you know, a mature chap such as myself. But off-the-ball activities, the ref was not taking it into his own hands. So I simply had to stand up for myself and just started booting everybody. So I got what's called a blue card, which my response to the blue card was, "What the fuck's that?" Said, "You've been simbing for 2 minutes," but there were 2 minutes left. So I said, "Well, you've sent me off then, haven't you, mate?" And he was like, "No, it's a blue card." I'm like, "But I don't know what, but I'm unfamiliar with the blue card." I'm like, "Give me the red. Give me the red. I want to see that red card." But no, he persisted with the blue card. "But you're not pulling the wool over my eyes, mate, because there was 2 minutes left. You have sent me off. It's absolutely fine." So, you know, you rally the troops, don't you? And there's a lad called Lucas who loves a tackle, and he set off, and I just like, fucking knack him. It's not about the foul, it's about the reaction anyway. And then, long behold, he got sent off as well. I don't know if he got a blue card or a red card. I don't know where we were at with that, but lost the game 3-2 ultimately due to off-the-ball activities. But that's not why we're here. I don't know why I've gone off on a tangent there. I do apologise, but I'm meant to be having a knockabout tomorrow night as well. I'm worried about my fucking knee. Popping and locking all over the place. It's my left knee as well, which normally, previously, I've had problems with my right, but this is my left. Shit, just made him. What were we on about? Yeah, Gruev. I mean, whether he's injured or not, you know, it creates a serious concern, doesn't it, against Fulham? Because ultimately, you know, you can say what you want about Gruev, and I can't believe he's been spoke about as much as he has currently, because, you know, we've gone from never really talking about Gruev, particularly in the media. He's like the unmasked man, isn't he? Or the masked man or whatever, just never spoke about over the past few years. And now it's like the only articles are about Gruev. It's like he's the second coming or something. But he's been really reliable for us, hasn't he, over the past couple of years. And to be perfectly honest, he proved against Newcastle. And I want to stipulate, you know, he was in there with Stack and Longstaff, which I think massively helps. But that's where we're at, and that's what it's about, really. He proved he can compete. And even if it's just as an upsetter, you know, just to break things up and be in right positions, and if his positional play is right, you know, he's decent enough on ball. He looks a bit busier than he actually is, but, you know, it works in there with Longstaff and Stack. If Tanaka can get back, obviously Ampadu's potentially back. People are suggesting that the be-all and end-all can play in that holding role. And to be honest, I know it's only a Chef Wednesday game, but I don't fancy that against a Fulham team away from home. I think he could be cannon fodder in there. I don't think my man Faki Fucker fancies Stack or Longstaff in that holding role by the seams of things. It seems to be Ampadu or Gruev, doesn't it? So he's not even really had a look at it otherwise. Now, Stack, I'm sure, could do it, really. I thought he was coming in more as sort of like a holder anyway, but he is playing in that sort of the two in front of the holder, isn't he? So in the 4-3-3. So we will see. I think Longstaff can probably do a job there as well, but I do think he's better in the slightly forward. I think Ampadu and Gruev working there with them two going forward, or obviously if we can get Tanaka back. But I think there's before we get to be-all, providing we've got, I mean, if we get Ampadu back, it's a no-brainer, but I don't think you'll want to bring him straight back in. It's a tricky one. Hopefully we'll see this develop a little bit as the week progresses, and hopefully, you know, it's a load of tosh and they're all back available. But yeah, keep liking, keep subscribing, guys. Appreciate every which one here. I'm now driving down to, I think, Dover or something. So I'll be back tomorrow with a shit vid, and then we will be live on Thursday for the underlap, as we all expect. Shit is as shit does. Take it easy, everybody, and I'll see you on the other side.
I don't wanna play no games. No, I don't wanna play no games. No, I don't wanna hear your promises. You do you and I'll do me. That's just the way it is.
Boom.